Can't help but wonder if Starrett received a lot of backlash when he invented the combo square in the 1800s. What's going on, guys? I'm Jody. This is Inspire Woodcraft. I really just wanted to do today's video as more of like a discussion. So I uploaded a video a few days ago showing you guys some woodpecker stuff that we brought into this shop. And these tools were specifically picked for a reason. A lot of these tools were meant to take a job that takes 2 or 3 tools typically and turn that into a job that maybe takes 1 or 2 tools. And some of the tools were actually meant just to upgrade some of the stuff that I already had. Traditionally, I've been using more box store, Harbor Freight, that kind of stuff, a little bit lower end, lower cost, lower quality. And the idea was to start bringing stuff into this shop to improve my accuracy and improve my workflow and my speed and everything else. Now, for the most part, that video is being received very well by people. However, there is some great discussion over there going on as far as the difference between low cost tools and high cost tools and who needs what and whether you should or whether you shouldn't. There's a lot of opinions, and I have a feeling that this debate has been going on for a long time. So that's exactly what the topic today is. Have we been tricked into thinking that we need to buy these high-end, high-dollar tools to do a good job? Or can we still use the lower-end, lower-cost tools and do the same job and just save our money for materials or something like that? So what I want to do is I want to go quickly over these 2 sets that I sort of made. I have the same tools in each pile comparatively, but I have the lower end stuff that I've had and I have some higher end stuff that I have now. And I just wanted to take a quick minute to sort of walk through each one and, you know, sort of the pros and cons. I think it kind of proves a point. Now, it sounds funny, but the first thing on the list is actually a mechanical pencil. If you think about it, you use a pencil for most of the things you do in the shop, from writing down notes to taking measurements and drawing the accurate layout lines that you need to do your task. I used to use number 2 pencils, which are basically all the same, so there's not really a comparison. But I recently started using mechanical pencils. So this mechanical pencil is a part of our low-end kit, and it's just a cheapo, probably 50 cents a piece. It has a clicker, it clicks out lead, you write with it. I mean, there's really not much to talk about. It's plastic, it's cheap, throwaway, disposable, however you want to look at it. Now, as I was researching mechanical pencils in the shop and the pros and cons to having them, I started noticing people using more high-end mechanical pencils, and I thought, that's really interesting. How could a higher end or higher quality pencil make a difference in the shop? Like, what would be the advantage to that? So after some research, I bit the bullet and I bought this. This is a Graph Gear 1000. I actually really like this thing. The issue is this is like 10 or 12 bucks, and like I said, this is like 50 cents. You could probably get these in packs of dozens and have them laying around the shop. Now, what I really like about this pencil is really just the form factor to begin with. When I hold it in my hand, I feel like I'm holding something solid. It's much heavier. It's got a lot of metal and whatnot going on. And I really like that the tip, which I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this or not, but the tip comes down to a really fine point. So where the lead comes out is actually a barrel that's almost just a little bit bigger than the lead itself. And so when I'm especially in a hurry and I'm just trying to mark stuff out really fast, I can get this into any hole, any space, any cavity. I can get right up inside the tightest little spots very quickly and efficiently. And I don't have to move my wrist around and everything. That's kind of the thing with this. While this doesn't have a really fat base to it, it's just a standard mechanical pencil. But I find that I have to really try to get into certain places, or there's some things where I actually can't get the pencil in because it's just too tight of a spot, where I can reach it with this. The other thing, and I thought this was kind of interesting, is, and I'll show you guys. So I'm gonna zero these out so there's no lead sticking out, right? The lead is absolutely flush with the tip of the pencil. I'm gonna click both these the same amount of times. I wanna show you guys the difference in how much lead comes out. Okay, so that's 10 full clicks of the button, and let's see if I can show you guys the difference. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Hopefully you guys can see that. This spits out lead way faster than this one. And it's because every time you click the button, more lead comes out with one click. In my opinion, that's a severe disadvantage. And I wondered why I was breaking so much even 0.9 lead. These are both 0.9. When I first brought pencils out here, I got a 0.7 and a 0.9, and I quickly discovered the 0.7 was no good. It was just too weak. But yet I'd seen other people using 0.7 with these pencils and not having any problem with it. I've now discovered the reason is because this one shoots out too much lead at one time. And so it breaks very quickly, even with the 0.9. This one only gives you a small amount of lead with each click. It's just enough to get you more lead, which is pretty nice. And I actually haven't broke lead with this one since I've had it. The other kind of nice feature with this is that when you press on the pocket clip, the tip actually retracts. And so the lead goes with it if you don't have too much lead sticking out. So if you keep this in your shirt pocket, or if you keep it in an apron pocket or something, you can just click that. It retracts the whole tip, so you're not stabbing yourself or poking your apron pocket or something like that. Now, do I think that it's worth spending $10 or $12 on this versus this? Well, we'll go more into whether you should or you shouldn't, I guess. But for me in my shop, yeah, I do. Actually, I really like this pencil. I do. I like the form factor. I like the weight of it. I like the quick, easy use of it. I like the extra features that it has that this one doesn't. Can I get by with this? Absolutely. I could buy these, like I say, by the dozen, just throw them all over the shop. If I step on them, if they break, they roll off the table, I just throw it away, I get a new one. This one's not gonna break, I don't think, nearly as quick, and it brings me more joy to use. And because of some of the little extra features, yeah, I think it's definitely worth bringing it into the shop. So another part of these kits that I have are these F-style clamps. We've all got them, bucket loads of them probably. And at first sight, they're identical. This one came from Harbor Freight. This is a Bessie, which actually did come from a big box store. I got this at Home Depot in a set. These are great. You can get them for like $3-4 at Harbor Freight. You can just load up on them. These, when I got them, were on a price drop, so they were only about $1.50 or $2 a pop more than these ones. So, I mean, obviously, at a couple bucks a pop, depending on how many you're buying, it's sort of a no-brainer. So what's the difference? They're both essentially the same. You have this rail down here, you have these two cast pieces here, and you have a screw. I mean, it's really a simple tool. What are the differences? Well, these Harbor Freight ones are very inconsistent. I can tell you that because I've been buying them for a long time, even through all the model changes in different manufacturers that they've had. This one is loose, and this isn't an old clamp necessarily. It's not brand new, but it's not an old clamp. This, when I get it to about right here, can you guys, that shouldn't happen. That's not good. So not only does it slip, even when I tighten it up here, can you guys see that? It's not even tightening up. With these two pushed together, with nothing in here, that should tighten up. There it goes. So it's finally tightening up. That's not good. That means that when I go to use this, I need to babysit it and two-hand it in order to get it to clamp. Now, once you get it to clamp, it clamps just fine. The other thing is, if we're noting actual differences, the screw here is more like a regular nut and bolt thread, you know, just typical hardware, where this one's more of an Acme thread, so the threads are a little bit wider, has a little bit different pitch, and the tops are what look like sheared off. I don't really know how to explain that. But you get a very nice, soft, solid, positive clamping feel when you actually use it. The other thing is that the fit and finish on these has never been great. The quality control is just not there. And sometimes this rod that goes up and down here can be bent right off the shelf, brand new from the store. And what that means is that when you actually get these two together right here, they don't line up very well. And so parts end up slipping and moving around. Don't have that problem with this one. So, is it worth the upgrade? Again, it's up to you. In my shop, absolutely. However, these are great to have in bucket loads laying around because you have jobs sometimes that just require a ton of clamps. And so it's nice to have these if you have the two hands to maybe, you know, finagle them and get them to actually work. If you just need something that clamps two pieces together, yeah, they're fine. I like these. I like these in the shop, and I plan on getting more down the road and upgrading these old ones and just kicking these to the side for in case of emergency. This one isn't an absolute fair comparison, but I think it's important. Recently, I've been getting into hand tools, and I've had these Buck Brothers chisels. This is from our inexpensive set. These you can get at like Home Depot. You can probably get, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them for like 10, 20 bucks. And this is what I use to teach myself how to sharpen. So once you get the backs lapped and you actually get it sharp, it'll be really sharp. I can shave arm hair with this, I can cut paper with this, and more importantly, I can work wood. These really aren't designed for fine woodworking. They're not designed for that small detail work that a lot of us might find ourselves doing. They have sort of this poly handle with the metal cap on there meant to, you know, take a beating out a job site or something, but you can tune these up and make them work in the shop. The only issue really after that is that they're really top heavy. And so when you're trying to get into really intricate work, you end up with some fatigue. This is from Wood River. I got a set of these for a birthday present about a year ago. Now these are butt chisels. This is more of a bench chisel, so it's not 100% fair comparison, but it's gonna get us close enough. The tool steel on this is much harder. Once I lap these and sharpen them up, this holds an edge way longer. So I only have to keep a strop nearby and just strop it once in a while. I don't have to hit stones. I could probably just use a strop on this for probably a month and get by just fine. This one's a lot softer, so while you can tune it up quicker and get it working for you, you're gonna have to hit this on a stone a lot more often than you are with this one. Is it worth the upgrade? Yeah, I believe so. And even if this was a bench chisel where it was a bit longer, had a longer handle, I like the feel of this one. I like its form factor a lot better. And I like the fact that I can spend less time sharpening and more time working, which is really a benefit all of its own. So yeah, I do think, for me personally, I think that this is worth the upgrade. Can I do all the same work with this? Absolutely, and I have been for a while. But with the opportunity to upgrade, spend a little bit of money and get a little bit better, higher quality tool, for me, yeah, I totally think it's worth it. So these squares here, this is from our low-end kit. This is a Empire square. You guys that watched the other video already know what I'm gonna talk about here, so I'll try and keep it simple for you guys. This has been a great square. It's square. One of the biggest arguments that actually came from that last video is if a square is square, it doesn't matter if it costs you $90 or $9. What's the difference? Just get the less expensive one. That makes the most sense. It doesn't really end there, because a square or any other tool can be meant to have certain functions, a la the combination square. So this square is true and does provide me with a 90-degree reference. However, because of this, the design, there's some flaws to this, like increments not being on here consistently, and this little notch right here, which drives me nuts. And what happens is when I put this down on my work, it slides around and it moves, and it's just, I've always had to fight with it, but if I can get it to hold still long enough, it does give me a 90-degree line, which, yes, that's what a traditional tri-square is meant to do. With one of the woodpeckers ones that we brought in, this actually has this lip right here, which provides 2 reference points to my material. I have it on the face and on the edge, which means every single time that I set this down, it's just a positive registration every single time. I also like the fact, of course, that this one doesn't have that 45-degree notch missing from it, so it's not sliding around, it's not tipping this way. And I have increments all the way down to the base here, 0 through 8 on this side, and then 0 through 8 on the same side. So if I need to set this down to set a blade height or to measure something inside of a cabinet box or something, I know that I can rely on this tool to do it every single time. For this one, I can't. Is it worth the upgrade? Again, I believe that yes, it is for me, because while this does give me a 90-degree reference and provide what a square is meant to do, this one does it so much better and so much more efficient. I have had so many times where I've set this on material, especially if I'm sort of in an awkward situation, marked my material, gone back to cut it and been wrong and had to cut it shorter or replace it completely or whatever the case might be. I haven't had this for a really long time, enough to do too many projects with it. I just don't see it happening though. All the times I have used this, it's been 100% just right every single time I've used it. So for me, yes, 100% worth the upgrade. Now, to be fair, it doesn't have to be that particular tool. It could be one with those features that is accurate, that is less expensive. I didn't find something like that. So yes, this is definitely worth the upgrade, in my opinion. Now, the last one I want to talk about is combination squares, because of course, this is another tool that's found in basically everyone's shop in a lot of different industries. In our least expensive kit, we have this Empire. Again, probably got it at Home Depot. I think I looked last night, you can get these for like 10 bucks. This is a 12-inch combination square, aluminum head, steel, stamped steel blade. And that's an important thing to note, is the stamped part. Now I'm gonna do a whole video going over combination squares and how to tune these up, because this one is not square. And I'm gonna show you guys how to make them square in my next video. I also have a 6-inch one here that's all taken apart, because it turns out the base of this is completely warped. And so we're gonna straighten this back out and tune it up. And the video is going to be made basically to show how to use these less expensive tools, tune them up so that we can use them like a high-end tool would come typically straight out of the box. Now, because this is an aluminum head and a steel rule, the steel being stronger than the aluminum, every time you slide this in and out and put it in, flip it around, you know, it wears out the pads that keep this true and square. And so what happens is you have to check these quite a bit, and if you don't, you're gonna slowly end up being out of square, but you'll never know it unless you actually check it. The other thing is, because these are actually stamped instead of machined, they end up with a lot of imperfections that are along the edges here, and especially at the ends. And so again, every time you even slide it back and forth, you're wearing out that aluminum pad that's inside of there that keeps this thing square. So it really is an issue with lower quality, lower end combination squares with the aluminum heads. This is one I recently got from PEC. I haven't had a lot of time with it, but I can tell you this is a cast iron head with a machined steel roll. These two materials play much nicer together. If I need to adjust this, I'm probably gonna have to get a file, but it doesn't matter. This was completely square right out of the box. Now, the other thing is when you buy high-end tools sometimes is you have options where you don't have options with these. If I decide down the road I need to get a longer ruler, an 18, 24-inch long ruler, I can just get the ruler itself and put it in here and use it, and it'll work just fine. The other thing is I actually was able to get this in a 4-piece kit. So I got the protractor and the center head both with this kit. Now here's what's really interesting. I'm gonna go more into this again in that next video. Now PEC is, depending on who you talk to, pretty close or up there with the names of Starrett and some of the top level, more expensive tools. But I actually got this as a blemished tool. So what that means is it might have a defect somewhere. The defect is not one that affects the use of the tool, and that's important to note. It could just be the finish. It could be that the paint didn't stick to this area. It could be, as in the case of mine, it has, you know, what looks like little chips that came out during the casting or something. And so they don't want to put this on the shelf as a full priced tool, so you can get these at a discount. I'll gather all the information up and I'll let you guys know about where I got it and everything, so maybe you guys can take advantage of that offer as well, and I'll put that in that next video. If you tally up the fact that if I didn't know how to tune this, I'd be throwing this away. You tally up this one, you tally up the one that's already broken, and the two rulers that I used to use in the shop all the time actually came from retired combination squares that bit the bullet. You tally all that stuff up, that's all over the last couple years. At what point should I have just bought a high-end, high quality, and yes, possibly more expensive tool instead of throwing all these ones away and getting new ones all the time? So have we been tricked? No, I don't think that we have. I really don't. But I don't think that it's also a one-size-fits-all category. There's certain tools that are meant to do multiple different jobs. Case in point, I know that with a combination square and a marking knife, I can lay out mortise and tendons. I also know that with a dual marking gauge, I can lay out mortise and tendons extremely accurate, extremely quickly, with a consistent knife line every single time on multiple pieces all day long. I can set this, leave it at the right setting, I can move it in and out, it's perfect. Yes, I can use those other tools. I can use, you know, what they used before this came out. Obviously it can be done, but if a tool comes out that is more efficient and more accurate, why shouldn't I upgrade to it if I find the need? Now, another one would be these saddle T-squares we talked about in the last video. This works amazing for doing what we typically did with a combination square, but doing it 100% accurate every single time. You don't have to set anything. There's no sliding a ruler back and forth. There's absolutely none of that. And I can do it every single time with this and get 100% accurate marks forever. That's pretty cool. And I can do that on each piece in the shop that I need to do it to all day long, all year long, all life long. So no, I don't think there's anything with upgrading to something that gives you that quality that you're looking for and repeatability. I just don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now the question is, of course, who should be buying these tools? Who should be upgrading them? And of course, that's, you know, who am I to decide who buys what? I think when you're a new woodworker, if you're just getting into this hobby and you're on a budget like most people are, I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with getting the lower end kit. However, there's some kind of pros and cons that go along with that. A lot of times with the lower end tools, you end up struggling a lot. And since you're learning, you don't know if it's you or if it's the tool. And a lot of times when you're first starting out, you can't imagine that it's the tool's fault. And so you think, man, I really just can't get my stuff together. I keep messing this up. I keep doing this. Come to find out, a lot of that could be the tools that you're using, and that could be why you're struggling. Now that struggle also adds a lot of value to your new craft though, because you learn how to fix mistakes. You learn how to work around certain situations. You learn what the tools are meant to do, what you can get them to do, and you learn features and stuff that you might want to upgrade to later on. And that's really, really important. There's a lot of lessons that can be learned from buying more inexpensive tools. At the same time, if you were to spend the money and get more high quality tools, not necessarily expensive, but high quality tools, you may not struggle and fight with that stuff as much, and you might actually enjoy your new craft or your new hobby that much more. Now, if you're a DIY type person, some of these more expensive tools may not appeal to you at all, just based on price. And that's because maybe all you're doing is, you know, making a fence or a planter box or fixing something, making a simple shelf. You don't need absolute precision. You may not know about things being absolute precision. And so typically the stuff sold at box stores like Home Depot and stuff are sold there for those people, for tradesmen, for DIYers, stuff like that. And that's totally fine. Now, if you do this for a living, and especially if you don't have employees that are gonna treat your tools not that great. I really do think it's worth looking at some higher end stuff because it's gonna make you produce things in a manner that actually provides you value. You're gonna be able to turn stuff out quicker, you're gonna have to sharpen your tools less, or you're going to have to, not screw up layout lines and stuff because you were fighting with this other thing. And I really do think it's worth that. But at that point, you're actually making an investment for something that is going to in turn give you a profit. And of course, that comes down to a business decision. So no, I personally don't think we've been tricked. I don't think that you need to go out and buy all this high-end stuff, but at the same time, everybody has their own gig going on. For me personally, I'm at a point where I'm tired of fighting with the lower end stuff. I'm still gonna have some of it around. I'm gonna be very selective on what I actually spend my money on and upgrade to, but I've done this long enough that I know where I can strengthen stuff up at. And if there's tools available on the market and I feel that I can afford it to upgrade to some of these tools that maybe produce something better than what I've been producing, I think it's worth it. And like I've said a million times before, if your tools are providing you with the level of work that you feel confident putting your name on, your tools are good. It doesn't matter what anyone else has. It doesn't matter what new tool hits the market. Your tools are working for you. You're good to go. Now what I'd like to do is open this up for conversation down in the comments, and if we could keep it kind, that would be awesome. There's always so much fighting and bickering that happens in the comment section. What would be really nice is if you guys are tradesmen or DIYers or professional woodworkers, it'd be nice to kind of get your guys' feedback on how you feel about the whole situation. What kind of tools do you use? What have you been using? What tools have you held on to for your whole life? Did you get them passed down to you, or did you buy them all new back in the day and they're still ticking away? And what's been your experiences? Those are the kinds of things that I thought would be cool to kind of have a community discussion with this video. So if you guys could do that, that would be super awesome. But like I say, just keep it kind, be nice to each other. I think it's a really fun topic. Anyways, thanks so much for listening to me yak for the last half hour. I will see you guys in the next video.